Rue de la Parcheminerie runs between a river and a hill. Walk 3 minutes north and you'll be at the Seine. Walk south and you'll find the Sorbonne. Part of the street is a graffitied pedestrian alley. The rest is a one-way passage beside a church with long-necked gargoyles and one of the oldest bells in Paris. In the middle of the street sits the little hotel with red geraniums, the Hotel Parc Saint-Severin. There are 27 rooms. One was mine. Room 61 had all the desiderata for solitary pursuits. One bed, one slender wood writing desk, one bergère chair with a green velvety seat that sagged just so. In the closet, a small stack of books about France, Bridges, the Louvre, Napoleon, and a few issues of Madame Figaro and Vogue Paris. There was scant floor space, though it didn't matter once the drapes were pulled back and the Roman shades tied up. Sunlight streamed through French doors and casement windows that opened to the rooftops of the Latin Quarter. From the balcony you could see straight down Rue Boutbry to the Musée de Cluny and the market on Boulevard Saint-Germain that sold sausage, foie gras, navettes from Marseille, and biscuits from Provence. You could see over mansard roofs, weathercocks, and orange chimney pots to the dome of the Pantheon. To the east was a rose window of Notre Dame, to the west, the tip of the Eiffel Tower. In the morning, a man in boxers appeared on a nearby balcony to smoke and water his plants. In the afternoon, the Abbey bookshop put wine crates of books on tables and stools in the street. In the evening, silverware clinked and voices floated up from tables that materialized outside the fondue joint next door. One morning, soon after I arrived, after the tables had been put away and the streets where students had walked arm in arm in the dark were empty again, I woke up to chirping and the faint shouting of children. I cracked the balcony doors, and in came the distant swish of passing cars, the air cool and damp on my bare feet. Boys were kicking a ball around the churchyard. Bells chimed. Time to begin. I pulled on jeans, a t-shirt, and my old leather jacket, tucked an umbrella in my bag, slid a finger through the tasseled keychain, and left room 61. At the end of the wallpapered hall, I circled down 6 flights of corkscrew stairs to the lobby, past the pale blue sitting room with the morning pastry baskets, and handed the key to the woman at the desk. Sprinkling in my wake the few French words I knew, "Bonjour, madame, merci," as I breezed out the door onto Rue de la Parcheminerie. Parcheminerie takes its name from the parchment merchants who worked there in the Middle Ages. Though one of dozens of volumes of the 19th century series Promenade dans toutes les rues de Paris, Walks in all the streets of Paris, says Parcheminerie was at one point known as Rue des Écrivains, Street of Writers. The philosopher and writer Denis Diderot had an apartment there in the 1700s. The photographer Eugene Atget began hanging around in the 1800s, chronicling the demolition of Parcheminerie's shops as medieval Paris continued to be reshaped into Napoleon III's vision of modernity. Historical photos and drawings reveal that the entire street once looked to be as narrow as the graffitied alley, with houses and shops selling wine and liquor. One of the few things to have survived is the old church. A flamboyant Gothic cathedral with gargoyles and stained glass, Saint Severin dates to at least the 13th century. A sign indicates that it's dedicated to a Saint Severin who founded an abbey in Switzerland, though it also acknowledges another Severin, a 6th century hermit known as Severin Solitaire, said to have lived nearby. According to legend, he was buried on the grounds, next to my little hotel. An auspicious sign. Parcheminerie had a certain mystery thanks to the old church and the sleepy pedestrian alley with its black street lamps and curiosities in the windows. Across the street, in a Louis XV house, was the Abbey bookshop. Beyond its glass door, step stools and side tables were piled upside down, concealing a labyrinth of books stacked as tightly as bones in the catacombs. A torn copy of a page from Paris Buildings and Monuments by a Parisian architect taped to his sidelight said the parchment merchants had left by the late 15th century. Next door, seemingly disparate artifacts were propped in a window in front of closed drapes. A straw hat, a lavender plant, an illustration of an electric blue Buddha with the words Le Guérisseur, the healer, like clues to a mystery. I photographed them as if they had some meaning that would later be revealed, then aimed my iPhone at the hotel. The photo caught my reflection in the dark glass of the door, my phone obscuring my face, like the floating green apple in Magritte's The Son of Man. I crossed onto Rue Boutbrie, past the row of trees and the motorcycles parked beneath them, turned left at the corner brasserie, out of sight of the little hotel, and became anonymous. Alone, there's no need for an itinerary. Walk, and the day arranges itself.